Before we start with chapter 4, let's take a look on what we have learned on previous set of videos first. GST will have two components, Central GST and State GST. Both center and states will simultaneously levy GST across the value chain, and tax will be levied on every supply of goods and services. Center would levy and collect central goods and services tax. States would levy and collect the state goods and services tax on all transactions within a state. Input tax credit of CGST would be available for discharging the CGST liability on the output at each stage. The credit of SGST paid on inputs would be allowed for paying the SGST on output. No cross-utilization of credit will be permitted. Now, let's start with our next topic, GSTN, which stands for Goods and Services Tax Network. It has been established as a not-for-profit, non-government company to provide shared IT infrastructure and services to central and state governments, taxpayers, and other stakeholders. The two primary objectives of GSTN are to provide a standard and uniform interface to the taxpayers and shared infrastructure and services to state and central governments. The need for establishing GSTN was the development of a state-of-the-art comprehensive IT infrastructure, including the common GST portal providing front-end services of registration, returns, and payments to all taxpayers, as well as the back-end IT modules for certain states that include processing of returns, registrations, audits, assessment, appeals, etc. All states, accounting authorities, RBI and banks are also preparing their IT infrastructure for the administration of GST. GSTN therefore implements the law that there would be no manual filing of returns. All taxes can also be paid online. All mismatched returns would be auto-generated, and there would be no need for manual interventions. That means most returns would be self-assessed. At present, the center and state indirect tax administrations work under different laws, regulations, procedures, and formats, and consequently, the IT systems work as independent sites. The process of integration of GST implementation is a complex task, since it would involve integrating the entire indirect tax ecosystem so as to bring all the tax administrations to the same level of IT maturity, with uniform formats and interfaces for taxpayers and other external stakeholders. This is possibly only when there is a strong IT infrastructure and service backbone which enables capture, processing, and exchange of information amongst the stakeholders, including taxpayers, states and central governments, accounting offices, banks, and RBI. The GST system constitutes of members of the Empowered Group on IT Infrastructure for GST. This group of 7 members was built for suggesting inter alia the modalities for setting up a national information utility called NIU, for implementing the common portal to become GST network, recommend the structure and terms of reference for the NIU, detailed implementation of strategy, building the roadmap for its creation in addition to other items like training, outreach, etc., and developing strategic control of the government over the SPV to ensure through measures such as composition of the board, mechanism of special resolution and shareholders agreement, induction of government officers on deputation, and agreement between GST and SPV and governments. You can now pause the video and take a look at some of the features of GST and SPV. In this slide, we will discuss the various measures of strategic control of government over GSTN, such as Number 1. Strategic control through Board of Directors. The Articles of Association of GSTN provides that matters of strategic importance will be decided by the Board of Directors, and the chairman of the board will have casting second vote where directors are equally divided over any issue in board meeting. Number 2. Strategic control through special resolution. The AOA of GSTN provides that Certain matters of strategic importance shall be decided only through special resolution, that is, 3/4 of the shareholders voting must vote in favor of such matters. Government's 49% shareholding will ensure that it retains effective control over such matters. Number 3. Strategic control through shareholders' agreement. An agreement amongst all shareholders of GSTN SPV will provide that till the time government holds certain threshold of shares in GSTN SPV, specific matters of strategic importance shall not be decided upon without the affirmative vote of the government. Number 4. Placement of personnel on deputation in the GSTN SPV. Strategic control is being ensured also through deputation of government officials in the GSTN at both leadership as well as operational levels. Services Division of GSTN, which is responsible for defining business processes, approving the modules and monitoring the outcomes, is managed primarily by government officers drawn from central and state tax departments. GSTN has 2 officers of CBEC, 8 officers from state commercial tax departments, 1 officer of Indian Audit and Account Service, and 1 officer from central government working on deputation. Some more officers are likely to join in future. Number 5. Agreements between government and GSTN SPV. Control over strategic matters could be exercised by government by incorporating suitable provisions in the agreement governing service delivery to be executed between government and GSTN. Now pause the video and take a look at the provisions of GSTN in the Articles of Association. The role of GST has been clearly explained in brief in this slide, entailing to payment of GST, filing of returns and application registration. This indicates there will be a single interface for all taxpayers from any part of the country. Only in case where a taxpayer is picked up from scrutiny or audit, and such cases are expected to be small in number, he will interface with the respective tax authority issuing the notice under the Act. For all other cases, which is expected to be around 95%, the common GST portal will be only taxpayer interface.